On November 21st, 2008, a film premiered that would divide audiences and critics for years to come. Twilight, directed by Hardwicke, and based on Stephenie Meyer's best-selling novel, was met with both adoration and derision. But beneath the surface of teen angst and sparkling skin lies a rich tapestry of symbolism and subversion. This is not just a story about a girl who falls in love with a vampire. It's a meditation on the anxieties of female desire, the negotiation of identity in adolescence, and the reimagining of a genre. By examining the film's visual language, narrative choices, and cultural context, we can uncover the complexity that makes Twilight a fascinating text for analysis. Hardwicke's direction is central to the film's unique atmosphere. She employs a desaturated color palette, often favoring blues and greens, to create a sense of melancholy and isolation. The Pacific Northwest setting becomes a character itself, with misty forests and perpetual overcast skies, reflecting Bella Swan's internal state. From the opening dream sequence to the final scene, Hardwicke uses visual motifs like rain and Twilight itself to blur the line between reality and fantasy. This aesthetic choice grounds the supernatural elements in a tangible, almost oppressive realism, making the intrusion of the vampire world feel both magical and dangerous. Bella's character is frequently misread as a passive damsel, but a closer look reveals a complex portrait of female agency. Her narration provides insight into her self-deprecating humor and fierce independence. When she moves to Forks, she actively seeks connection and mystery, rather than simply falling into Edward's path. Her decision to pursue a relationship with him, despite knowing the risks, is a conscious choice. This is where the film's feminist anxiety emerges. Bella desires Edward, but that desire comes with existential cost. Her body becomes a site of negotiation between her own wants and the dangers posed by Edward's supernatural nature. Edward Cullen subverts the traditional vampire archetype in significant ways. He is not a predator, driven solely by bloodlust, but a creature of immense self-control and guilt. His diamond-like skin and sunlight is a radical departure from the monstrous, decaying vampires of earlier films. This sterilization of the vampire mythology serves a thematic purpose. It highlights the tension between the monstrous and the beautiful, the corrupt and the pure. Edward's struggle is not just with his nature, but with his desire for Bella, which he sees as a threat to her humanity. This internal conflict mirrors the adolescent experience of overwhelming emotion and the fear of harming those we love. The infamous meadow scene is a masterstroke of visual storytelling. As Edward reveals his sparkling skin in the sunlight, the film shifts from muted tones to a radiant, almost ethereal beauty. The scene is shot with intimate close-ups and slow motion, emphasizing the otherworldliness of the moment. But beneath the visual splendor lies a metaphor for consent and trust. Edward asks Bella to close her eyes and trust him, a literal act of submission. Yet Bella's choice to see him, to know his secret, is an assertion of her desire to understand the object of her affection fully. This duality encapsulates the central tension, love as both liberation and vulnerability. The vampire world-building in Twilight introduces a unique moral system. The Cullens are vegetarians who abstain from human blood, living on animal blood instead. This dietary choice symbolizes an attempt to live ethically within a predatory existence. The Volturi, in contrast, represent the hunter-gatherer norm, a kind of vampire aristocracy that enforces secrecy through violence. This spectrum of morality parallels real-world debates about assimilation and difference. Edward's family chooses to live within human society, denying their nature to preserve their humanity. Their struggle becomes a metaphor for any marginalized group that must navigate the choice between assimilation and isolation. The baseball sequence is perhaps the film's most dynamic set piece, but it's also a turning point in the narrative. The silent, intense game in a thunderstorm is a visceral representation of the Cullens' attempt to maintain normalcy within their abnormal lives. But the arrival of James, the tracker vampire, shatters this fragile peace. James embodies the predatory threat that Edward is trying to suppress. His presence forces the conflict into the open, leading to a climactic confrontation that tests Bella's agency. In the end, it is Bella's quick thinking, not Edward's strength, that saves her, subtly undermining the damsel in distress trope. The Volturi's appearance introduces a dystopian undercurrent to the narrative. Their elaborate, grandiose aesthetic and ritualized violence underscore the dangers of power without oversight. Aro, Caius, and Marcus serve as surveillance and control, much like a totalitarian regime. Bella's interaction with them highlights her growing confidence as she faces these ancient beings with defiance, rather than fear. This scene also critiques institutional authority, suggesting that the pursuit of purity and order can lead to corruption. The Volturi's demand for evidence of Bella's humanity mirrors societal demands for conformity, and Bella's refusal to be erased is a political act. The film's conclusion, with Bella and Edward at prom, appears to be a conventional, happy ending. But the final line, "It's not a big deal, Edward. I know what I want," echoes a subtle but powerful assertion of self. Throughout the film, Bella has been defined by her choices to move to Forks, to be with Edward, to become a vampire. The sequel, New Moon, will test this resolution, but for now, the ending is a quiet triumph of agency. However, the unresolved tension remains. Bella's desire for immortality is framed as a surrender to Edward's world. But is it a surrender or a reclaiming of her own narrative? In the end, Twilight is a film that rewards analysis beyond its teen romance label. It is a cultural artifact that captures the anxieties and desires of its time, the early 2000s, a period of post-9/11 uncertainty and evolving gender roles. By subverting vampire lore and centering a female protagonist's internal conflict, director Catherine Hardwicke crafted a work that resonates with themes of consent, identity, and the monstrous nature of love. Twilight invites us to look beyond the surface, to see the shadows in the sunlight, and to question what it means to desire the dangerous.